Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Sweet Spot.
We are your hosts.
I'm Diane.
And I'm Michael Pinball Clemens.
And we are so excited to be here today.
The Sweet Spot really is joy unspeakable, having balance in all you do.
It's being grateful, even when things aren't great. The desire to help others when you may be hurting yourself.
It is submission to a sovereign God who is in control when things look good or bad.
The Sweet Spot means happy times are happier, challenging times are growth opportunities, and love is the ruler of the day.
The Sweet Spot is resting and sometimes wrestling in the arms of the Almighty.
Simply put, if you're in your sweet spot, you're probably abiding in the fruits of the Spirit.
Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control.
So we hope you join us as we take this journey and engage in topics that we hope will inspire,
encourage,
challenge,
uplift,
excite,
insight,
refresh,
restore,
revitalize,
comfort,
stimulate,
and strengthen each of you in your daily walk.
Welcome to The Sweet Spot. Hello and welcome to The Sweet Spot. Today I am so excited to introduce a really close and dear friend. Let's see, how should I do this intro this morning? She is a friend, she's a sister, she's a pastor, she is an intellect. She's beautiful, she's charming, she is a microbiologist, believe it or not. She has great style, great flair. I can go on and on and on about our guest today. But you know what? For me, she's just genuine. She's humble and she's meek. And like I said before, she's my dear sister, Tania Meikle. Welcome to The Sweet Spot.
Thank you so much for having me. It's so exciting to be here. Honestly, two of my most favorite people in the entire world, on the entire planet, are sitting right beside me today.
And we can say the same thing for you.
And we like to call you Pastor T.
Yeah.
So Tania Meikle is the name, but Pastor T.
Pastor Tania Meikle. Yes, welcome to The Sweet Spot, my friend.
It's a pleasure
I
to be
have
here.
been trying to get you here for weeks now, and I'm so excited that you're here.
I'm super excited to be here too. What you guys are doing here on The Sweet Spot, I think is phenomenal. Reaching people across the nation and just giving them real stories, real life, and helping them walk through life. So I'm excited to be here. I'm really looking forward to speaking.
Awesome,
Yes.
awesome. So I know earlier I mentioned that you are a microbiologist. A microbiologist.
Like real deal. Like
that
real
means like
certificates.
you're real smart.
She didn't buy one of those
Not a little bit
certificates at
smart.
Walmart and no.
Real smart. Real smart. So my question to you is, how on earth did you go from studying microbiology to
Actually, tell us that
pastor?
experience a little bit, where you studied and all of that first.
Yeah,
Let's
for
start
sure,
there.
absolutely. I think before I left high school, I had a real passion about biology. I love learning about...
Did you hear that? Before she left high school,
Before I
she
left
had
high
a real
school.
passion about who has a passion about
Biology.
biology?
Hello.
I honestly, I consider myself a lifetime learner, and so there's so much to learn in the area of science. There's always new things, and I think it just intrigued me that there's always something new to learn about the world, new to learn about genetics, we're discovering so many things, right? And so I had a real passion for it, just leaving even high school. And I used to watch a show called Marcus Welby.
Yes.
Way back in the day. I don't want to date myself.
We're aging ourselves.
Yeah, I don't want to
That's
date, but
That's
I
okay.
thought, you know what, it might be good to become a doctor. Maybe I could become a doctor. And so I did go to, I ended up getting into UFT. I also got into McMaster as well, which had another great science program. But I ended up going to UFT. In their science program, and I studied there. I was very passionate about what I was doing. I thought, you know what, maybe after my fourth year, I'll go to med school, become a doctor, because at the end of the day, as much as I loved learning, I also wanted my learning to help people.
Right.
Wow.
Yes.
And I thought the best way that I could help people would be to be a doctor.
Right.
Because I could get people healed.
Right.
I could heal people. They come sick, they leave healthy. And so really that's why I went down that path, and because my passion and because my desire for people, and I thought those two would mesh together. So I ended up going to UFT. I graduated with my biology specialist degree from UFT. And after that, I even went into some research at Wellesley Hospital for lupus research.
Wow.
But it was during that time that God started to change my direction.
Right.
Started really speaking to my heart on really the direction that He wanted me to go. And so that's kind of where I got to before I launched out into what I'm currently doing.
Wow. Well, Wellesley Hospital, Little Hospital, that's actually where I got my scope done on my knee. The only surgery I've ever had was a scope done on my knee, right at Little Wellesley Hospital.
Yeah,
not
it's not a big,
yes.
it's not one of the big five
That's
in,
right.
in Toronto.
Yes, off Young Street, just below Bloor,
oh,
right?
Trust me, I traveled there every day.
That's it. Excellent.
Yes, yes.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So this transition then, so from biology to actually sort of like the transition from sort of biology. First, I want to kind of know. You said God, and that was sort of. I don't want to make that sort of miss that part. Did you love God all alone and He started speaking to you in a different way, or was it something else? Tell us about that experience.
So, well, I got saved when I was just in my last year of high school.
Okay.
I got saved. And so all of what I wanted to do in my life was prior to that, and those are the things that I did pursue when I left high school. So prior to knowing God, I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to pursue, biology, medicine, things like that. But I got saved just before I left high school, and the Lord started to work on me and show me that my passions really were about people, but it took me a while. Okay. Sometimes it's a journey to get where God wants to take you. Sometimes He has a destination in mind, and He takes you on a journey, and it may zigzag, and it may not look like a straight line to get exactly where you want to go, but when you're in Him and with Him, and your desire is to serve Him with all your heart. I was on fire for God.
Yes.
And so I really did want whatever He wanted for my life, but it took time for me to find that path where He was leading me.
Right.
So when I did graduate, me and my husband eventually got married, and we were doing some things together in the community, and I started to get a real big heart for the community. Like my heart began to increase and grow for the community. We saw there was needs there, especially for the young people in the community that we were in. Crime was increasing. They had community centers, and the community centers were closing at around 11 o'clock, but they were finding they were having a hard time with the kids after they left the community center because these kids didn't know what to do. And so at that time of night, they were getting into all kinds of mischief, trouble, crime, things like that. So we became a part of a community team that said, let's do something for these kids.
How old were you then?
Oh, that's a good question. Probably in my early 20s, I would say.
A couple years ago.
Yeah. This is why I love you, Mike. This is why I love you. Just a couple of years ago. I think we were in our early 20s, and we had met with some community advisors, and we had determined that what we would do is we'd run the first ever midnight basketball drop-in, because we knew that the kids would come play basketball, and we knew that the boys would come play and the girls would come watch.
Exactly.
Right? And we knew we'd be able to get them off the street. So what we did, we spoke to the community centers, we spoke to administrators, and they said, yes, please do it. We'll give you the facility, we'll give you everything that you need. We think this is going to be amazing. So what we did is we started with younger kids. We'd have this small hour time before the 11, like 10, or maybe it was earlier, 9 to 11 or something. And we would just talk to them about life and about God. And honestly, we found creative ways to do it because we were doing it as a community program.
Exactly.
But we really helped to set them straight on paths of life. And then after that, we start the basketball.
Right.
And I mean, in the heyday of the basketball, it was the most popular and most successful basketball drop-in in all of GTA. Wow. We had people coming out of there that ended up going to the States on scholarships, a couple playing in the NBA.
Wow.
But it was a really great time because we weren't just giving them basketball, we were giving them life skills. So one of the things we told them, no swearing on the court. If you swear in the building, if you're on court and you swear, your team loses a point. But if you win, you get to stay on. And so ballers, they love to stay on the court.
Yes.
You know that. You don't want to be taken off the field, right?
No.
You don't want to be taken. And you don't like to lose, right?
That's
Winners
right.
don't like to lose.
That's
So what
right.
would happen is one of their guys would swear, and we would remove a point. And they would get mad at us first. And we said, you knew the rules coming in.
Right.
Like, you guys
Right.
knew the rules.
Exactly.
You swear, you lose a point. And so then they started policing themselves. Right? Because they would get down on each other, like, stop swearing, because we're going to lose the game. We want to stay on the court and all of this. And so we were teaching them life skills, how to communicate, how to be good moral people, things like that. And so out of that, we really grew a passion to see that our lives could make a difference.
Right.
I think that's really what I was looking for all along. I wanted my life to make a difference. I remember you came one time and spoke at our church, very early days. And it's the first time I ever heard him speak.
Wow.
And I remember him in like a nice, smooth voice, just like, touch somebody. And he walked around and he started touching people, touch somebody, touch somebody.
Wow.
And really, in essence, in 2 words, he was saying what I wanted to do with the rest of my life.
Wow.
I want to touch somebody. And I think through that, I really said, you know what, Lord, I think you might have a different path for me. There's other ways to touch people. Right. There's other ways to transform lives. To this day, we still have guys coming to us. They'll see us in the mall. Thank you for doing that basketball drop-in. Wow. It changed the course of my life forever. I went to university. I went to college. I got my life together. Things like that. And for me, that's what it was all about. Wow. And so that's kind of where we got in the timeline as to what changed the course for me. Was that the ability to touch somebody, doing something in the community?
Well, in touching somebody, you alluded to your husband,
yes.
right?
Yes.
And so tell us sort of how that relationship matured so we can get this whole picture together, right? Because you've referred to the 2 of you now
yes.
doing the drop-in, but we haven't talked a whole lot. So tell me when you touched that somebody.
Oh, how much time do we have? Wow.
Let's talk about the real sweet spot.
This is the real. Now we're getting down. Well, can I just say happy anniversary to you both? It's your 24th anniversary
so
today.
much.
Maybe
Thank
not
you
on the
so
day
much.
that this airs, but congratulations on being such a great example in our community of a rich and healthy and strong marriage for others to exemplify. So thank you for that. But yes, we met in, I believe in youth group. At church when I first got saved. So we met when I was
high school.
Still in high school.
Yes.
We met, I remember the day, I tell this story all the time. Me and my sister were just newly saved. We came to this church. There's a group of youth there. One of my sisters already attended the church, so they knew her. When they saw me and my sister walk in, they all went in a huddle to my other sister and said, introduce us to your sister. Introduce us to your sister. So this group of guys are begging my sister to introduce them to me and my other sister.
Wow.
So I'm just there first time in church, and I see this horde of young men coming towards me, and I was getting pretty nervous. I'm like, what is this all about? And so they all huddled around. My sister came with them, so I felt a little bit more at ease. And she said, these young men would like to introduce themselves to you. So they went around one by one. I'm Jim, I'm Bob, I'm this, I'm that. And then it was like the Red Sea parted.
Right.
I'm not going to lie. It was like the Red Sea parted, the boys parted. Then this man comes up the middle, and he reaches out his hand to me, and he says, hi, I'm Robert Alexander Meikle.
Oh my.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
Oh my.
And I said to myself, what 18-year-old young man talks like that, let alone shakes the hand of a girl? Like, I was just thrown. It messed up my mind for days. It really did. I would go to bed saying, who is he? Who is that guy? Not knowing that he was going to be my future husband.
That's beautiful.
So, as I said, we went away to university. I went to U of T. He actually ended up, we weren't really good friends. We just, more or less introduced him before we knew we were gone to university.
Yes.
He went to Waterloo, mathematics, computer science.
So both of you are just smart pants.
He's way smarter,
Just
but he's
smart pants.
And
So we guys always appreciate that you say that about us, but we know the truth. Yes.
man, so he went and he did a co-op program there. And when he graduated, I remember before he graduated, when I was still in school too, I was just making notes. Somebody had said, if you are looking for a husband, write specifically what you're looking for. So I made some notes, and I got specific. Like, I got specific, right down to the kind of car I wanted him to drive. Like, I wrote down the car. I want him to drive this kind of car. I want him to this, that, the other thing. And then I just put it away. And one day, after he had graduated, it was summertime, he had come back to Brampton, and he drove by in the very card that I had written down on my list. He
Well,
never had the car
amen.
before. And apparently he just
Amen.
bought the car when he drove by me on the road. And it just was like one of those things like, is it possible?
God.
Yes.
That really my husband? And so it was one of those moments. And, we took time, we got to know each other. And I said, Lord, I don't know, are you sure he's the right one? He said, go back to your list. This was after I got to know him better. Robert Alexander went back to my list and he said, check off everything that he has. I checked off every single thing right down to the car. Now, he didn't know I was doing that.
Yes.
At the same time, before he came back from university, God spoke to him and said, you're going to marry Tania Meikle, Tania Blackburn at the time. He said, you're going to marry her. And he was the same, like, who is she? I just met her. Like, what do you mean I'm going to marry her? So we just developed a relationship. God brought us together. And he brought us together for purpose. This is the great thing about it. It's not just for a love affair, for a connection. He brought us together for purpose. And we are now walking in the purpose that he brought us together for.
Amen.
Yes.
Amen.
Yeah, so that's sort of the truncated version of how me and Rob met.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, can we talk a little bit about, you were talking about the midnight basketball and the impact that you were having on the young men and the young women as well. So right now, you and Pastor Rob, you've started your own church.
Yes.
So can we talk a little bit about Kingdom House, because you're a pastor and we
Yes.
love you so much. So can you just talk a little bit about Kingdom House and about the Impact Center as well?
Absolutely. So, before we started and launched out to do a church, we were in another church and we were quite happy where we were. Honestly, we were in leadership. We were doing all the things that we love doing. And it was actually, we got very comfortable.
Yes.
It was a comfortable place.
Yes.
And then people started outside the country, inside the country, started saying, we think that God is calling you guys to launch out and start a church. Wow. And we would dismiss it. Honestly, we were so comfortable and happy where we were. We didn't see what's the point of going out on the water when the boat is so comfortable.
So comfy,
Right.
yes.
And what I've learned through that is that God is on the water.
Well,
He's not in the boat. He's on the water. So if you want to be where he is, you got to get out of the boat. So different things came our way. Right to we were on an airplane flight. And a stranger came up to us and said to my husband, are you a Christian? And my husband was like, oh my gosh, this guy wants to debate with me on an airplane and I can't get off the airplane.
Right.
I'm not really feeling like a debate, but I can't deny Christ. So he said, yes, I'm a Christian. And he said, well, God told me to give you this. And he handed him a piece of paper. I could not tell you what that man looked like. I didn't see him again after that. My husband didn't see him again after that.
Right.
I don't know who he was. But we opened this letter and began to read it. And it basically said that God is promoting you to number one. And the time is now to step out. And we were already dealing in our hearts, and people were already talking to us. And the thing that made a difference for me is when somebody said to me, there are a people who are waiting for you to step out. So it wasn't about me stepping out. It was about the people that were waiting for me to step out. And I said, my life, I wanted it to be about people. And God was saying, well, they're not going to be able to step in until you step out.
that just gave me chills.
Oh, and so with all those different things coming from different areas, we finally decided, okay, let's launch Kingdom House. We did some informational sessions before we started the church. On the first informational session, all we did was talk about the city that we were in, how much it needs God, how much it needs people to love it and to reach out and to really, connect with it. And I think about 5 people got saved at an information meeting, gave their hearts to the Lord.
Wow.
And we knew then that, God, you're doing something really special. One of them was a very young man, still in high school. Very dear man. He's become our spiritual son. This day, that same young man who just gave his life at an information session is now one of our main preachers and our young adults leader in our church, who's now affecting and changing other people's lives. And this is what I'm talking about. It's a legacy. Like when you put your life out there for other people and you pour into other people, it becomes an exponential thing. Because that person will pour into 2 people, those 2 people pour into 4, and before you know it, your legacy has touched so many lives. What you've done have touched so many lives. And so that's, I'm not even sure what your question was. Kind of got lost there, but.
Talking about how we started with Kingdom
You answered
House.
it perfectly.
Yeah.
But you answered it perfectly.
And so you continue to extrapolate now. You said that you found your purpose, and you've talked about it, I think, a bit. But maybe just because we don't want to miss anything, what is your purpose?
Well, Kingdom House, we had taken a long time to come up with a mission statement, and it's transforming lives, fulfilling destinies. The one thing at the end of the day that gives me joy unspeakable is when I've had an opportunity to see God transform a life. When I've had the opportunity to see somebody come in our doors one way, and within a few months, they become a different person that is now influential and pouring into other people's lives. I'll tell you this. I've seen people come in whose marriages should have been broken up. Like, for all intents and purposes, for legally every other way, should have broken up. And because of some of the programs that we do at the church and at the Impact Center, we've been able to see them go through the program, and now they're together and their marriage is stronger than it's ever been. We've seen a man come in who wasn't a believer. Well, he was kind of, but not a strong believer. His wife was a very strong believer. She got cancer. And me and her became very close during that time that she was battling her cancer. And her husband was, seeing her faith and saying, okay, maybe God's going to do something for her. He's going to heal her. He's going to do something for her. And, I would love to say he healed her and she, was healed and everybody was happy. But she passed away. That man was very angry. And we encouraged him to come through the program at the Impact Center and let God do a work on his heart. He was very angry, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. And he went through one of our programs called Celebrate Recovery. And on the other side of that, this man has been set free. He's a happy man. And now he's wanting to carry on the legacy of his wife, and is going to be starting a home for young girls that are on the street. And he wants her life to live through the legacy that he's doing. So when I talk about transformation, that's what I'm talking about. Somebody coming in and mad at God, and then on the other end, they're doing work for God that's going to change and transform other people's lives. This is what it's about for us. It's about touching somebody.
Yes, yeah. I got a chance to speak to the gentleman you're talking about on both sides.
Yes.
I got a chance to speak to him when he was angry. And now I've had a chance to speak and experience with him on this side of it. And so we're so grateful for you and the work that you do and the love that you have and the time that you spend. And so I want to ask right now, how do you balance it all?
Well, balance is a big word with all capital letters in my home, because my husband, we joint pastor the church, but he's also the CIO for the City of Toronto, which is a Chief Information Officer for the City of Toronto. So he has a very big portfolio. I mean, he has hundreds of employees, millions of dollars of budgets that he oversees. He travels around the world because of his position. And then we have the church as well, which is very demanding and
you have
exciting.
2 kids.
And I have 2 children, and one of them is in university, the other one's still in high school. The one in high school, we did have he has an incurable disease, but it's manageable. But that too just puts an extra weight and an extra, an extra on your plate.
Right.
And I'll be honest, I don't know how we do it. I would ask you guys how you do it. I don't know how we do it, because it's just God multiplying time.
Yes.
He makes time quality, so when we have time together, it's quality time.
Yes.
And then he multiplies time so you have enough to do everything that he's put on your plate to do. Can I say that sometimes we put stuff on our own plate, and then we run out of time and wonder, oh my gosh, how come I can't do all of this? It's because we put stuff on our own plate.
That's right.
But when the stuff that's on your plate is God's stuff, he makes time for it.
I like how you put that. Say that again.
When the stuff we put on our plate is God's stuff, he makes time for it.
Amen.
And he makes energy for it. And we don't do it. It says, not by might, not by power, but by my spirit, says the Lord.
Yes.
So we have to live in the spirit. We have to walk in the spirit. The only way you guys can do what you do, only way that we can do what we do, is because God enables us to do it.
I think that's a sermon.
Oh.
Yeah, be careful of what's on your plate.
Be careful of what's on your plate. If I could give
And how it
advice
got there.
And how it got there.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we want things for ourselves, and we'll put that on the plate, and then we'll demand God to fulfill what's on that plate.
That's right.
And that's not how God works.
That's right.
He designed you. He made you. He knows what your purpose is for. So he says, no. I'm not going to fulfill the things that you put on there, because that's not what I designed you for. But if you will take on your plate the things I designed you for, those things will be easy. Do you know that a watch is easy to be a watch?
Yes.
Because that's what it's designed to be.
That's
It
right.
ticks, it talks, it's built that way.
That's
But
right.
if this watch says, I want to become a fishing rod and catch fish, it's going to have a very hard time doing that. If I took this off and tried, it won't work.
So you know what this is?
What's this?
Midweek service.
It's midweek service. And I get an amen.
That was my word.
Is that your word?
That was my
Yes,
word.
Oh, God is confirming the word.
Yes,
I'm
about
telling
because
you.
I put a
Because-
few extra things on my plate sometimes.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
And,
Yeah,
and it's natural. We
Yeah.
do that.
And we were just talking
then
about
we
that.
get exhausted and we get burnt out. And then we say, God, I can't do anything
That's
for
right.
you because I'm burnt out. But
'Cause
he
I'm
said,
tired.
but I never asked you to do A, B, C, D, E.
That's right.
That's what burnt you out.
That's right.
If you had just done what I said,
Yes.
you would have the energy
Okay, Pastor,
to be able to
you're
fulfill
preaching
it.
to me
I am
today. I
preaching.
accept it. Amen. I accept it.
Awesome,
Okay, I accept
awesome.
it. Now, can you tell the listening audience if they wanted to get involved in the Impact
Yes,
Center,
yes.
how could they get involved? How could
Absolutely.
they help to if they wanted to make donations or whatever they could do to help with the
Absolutely.
Impact Center?
And can you add into that? Because this may be our last question.
Yes,
right?
yes, yes.
Can we add into that sort of the broader vision
Yes.
of the Impact Center?
Absolutely.
Right? And then talk to people about how they might be able to get involved
right.
and help or
That's
donate.
right.
Phenomenal.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So the Impact Center is part of our church community. Really, we call it community because we're not about programs so much as we are about connecting with people and bringing people into a community environment, even down to the architecture of our building. It looks like little homes when you
That's
walk
right.
in because we want it to be a community within a community. Our goal is that Kingdom House is a community center inside the city that we're in, and we're currently in Brampton, but we want to serve Peel region, GTA, but we want to be a community there. So we offer programs. One of the biggest programs that we have right now is Celebrate Recovery. It's a 26-week program that walks you through your hang-ups, your hurts, your habits, and really gets down to the core of who you are and letting God do a deeper work on the inside of you, because we get saved and we think, okay, I got saved, I'm supposed to be perfect now. Well, no, you're not. You are continually walking out your salvation.
That's right.
And so what Celebrate Recovery does is help you work out some of those things that are deep down inside, so you get them to the surface so God can clean them off and really heal you from the inside. Can I just say this? Churches sometimes want to get people to change from the outside in.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Change how you dress, change how you
Yes.
talk,
That's
change
right.
how you act.
That's right, yeah.
And I think that God's way, He says, I want you to be renewed by the transformation of your mind.
Yeah.
And so He's saying, I want you to change from the inside, and then the outside will
It'll
line
come.
up.
That's
it
right.
comes.
It'll come.
Yeah.
It
Yes.
comes. So we do programs like Celebrate Recovery that allows you to do an internal sort of inventory and let God get into those deep spaces so that you can be truly healed and have an outward expression of what God's doing on the inside. We also have programs for youth. One of the things that we're doing right now is trying to raise enough funds because we have our sanctuaries is the basketball court size.
Yes.
But
That's
we
right.
want to raise funds so that we can actually lay a floor for a basketball court and have all the hoops and everything. So during the week, we take out everything that's Sunday related and we say, community, here are some basketball sports programs that you can come in. Because can I tell you, the youth are not running into church these days.
That's right.
But we need to make church a place that's comfortable that, hey, if I come Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday for basketball or for soccer or for something
Right.
like that, it may not be so difficult for me to walk in
come
that
on
same
Sunday.
building on a Sunday or a Friday night youth program.
So if someone is listening right now, can you tell us how much that court would cost?
Oh, it would cost. My husband would be better at the numbers, but I would think close to $20,000.
$20,000.
I would
So-
think close to $20,000.
Yes, so
To do that. We also have an impact center room where we want to, we just moved in the building just almost a year ago, just not yet a year. And so we are just, doing the renovations, et cetera. But we have a room for the youth that we want to outfit with the top of the line computers. We want kids to be able to come in and do their homework, to have mentoring there. We also have top-line musicians and singers in our
Yes,
church
we do.
who want to run a program for kids in the community to teach them how to make music, because music is such a big part of their
Yes.
lives.
Absolutely.
And there's so many icons out there that they're looking to. And we say, come into the church, come into the community of church,
That's right.
and learn about music so that you too can really
That's
do
right.
something really amazing with music too. So we have all these different programs. We do outreaches for the community, backpack programs for kids and parents who don't have enough money to send their kids to school. We also support local shelters. We connect with other community programs, people who are already doing the job, like Regeneration, who's already feeding people, and we connect with them and help them do what they're doing as well. So it's expansive. There's not enough time.
You also do marriage.
We do marriage enrichment, which you guys had a part in. We do marriage enrichment twice a year, where we invite people and they come from the community, not even necessarily from the church, and they come in and find out how to make a God-centered marriage so that they can have success in their marriage. And you guys have been a part of that and continue to be a part of that as well. And there's a lot more things that we do as well, but that's just sort of in a nutshell.
Pastor T, you're amazing. Anything else you'd like to share with us as we close?
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to leave with everybody out there that you have an opportunity to impact lives, no matter where you are. And some of you might have heard what we're doing here at Kingdom House and at the Impact Center, and you might say, well, I'd like to help out there. I'd like to be a part of what you're doing there. Absolutely, you can be a part. We need all the support we can get. You can come and you can volunteer at the Impact Center. And other ways that if you can't come, you can still give to help us get the facility up to the standard that we need it for to reach out to our community. And so if you're one of those people who would like to give towards the cause here that we're doing at Kingdom House, it's quite simple. You just go to our website. It's kingdomhouse.com, www.kingdomhouse.com. Or you can give us a call at 905-459-5422 and just let us know that you'd like to be a part of helping. And when you do something, no matter how small you might think it is, it's going to have an impact for generations to come. Because as we touch one, then they touch one, and so on, and so on, and so on.
Amen.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Real pleasure. Yeah, that is the house of the kingdom.
That is the house of the kingdom.
Yeah, so.
And as we always love to end with the words of Edward Everett's, I am only one, but I am one. I cannot do everything, but I can do something. What I can do, I ought to do. And what I ought to do, by the grace of God, I will do. Until next time, stay in your sweet spot. Thank you so much, Pastor T. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Pastor T. We love you, lady.
Love you. Thank you.
The sun will shine.